Vinyls.
US CD sales have dropped by double digits just last year, but new vinyl record sales were significantly up.
The vinyl sales are surging.
In the past 10 years, we've seen a 900% increase overall in sales.
Adele had the best-selling vinyl album in 2021.
Memories pressed into wax. There's a certain magic in the crackle of a vinyl record that some claim to be as addicting as the real thing. Most of us know what a vinyl is because of our grandparents or our parents, or we've seen rich and famous people talk about how much they paid for them and thought, fuck. The first Mendelssohn concerto vinyl was made in 1948. Now that's old. These first vinyls were made by Columbia Records and were made out of polyvinyl chloride. So basically just PVC, like the pipes that I used to get lashed with in boarding. This material allowed for longer playtime and a much richer sound. That crack.
The crackle of the vinyl.
Vinyl collectors are fiends. Vinyls were super popular throughout the 50s and 60s, aka the golden age of music. And now, after all these years, after being threatened by CDs and online streaming, they've remained relevant and are even more relevant than before because of what they mean to us historically and culturally. Oh wait, my name is Jean-Claude Downing, and if you believe creativity is like magic, then you've come to the right place. Today I wanted to look at some of the most coveted and most expensive vinyls ever bought. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee, and let's get into this together. Okay, first, I wanted to play a game called Value This Vinyl. So have a look at the vinyl that's on the screen right now and tell me how much you think that vinyl's worth. $5,000? $10,000? Try $32,000 for that vinyl over there. That's how much that 7-inch vinyl cost, which actually makes it the most expensive 7-inch vinyl ever bought. A little extra tabloid over there for you. It's still number 10 in the total, but in terms of the 7-inch vinyls, it's the most expensive one ever bought, which I thought was pretty cool. But as we know, it's always the story that makes a vinyl so expensive. So what exactly happened with this vinyl and what made it so expensive? Well, basically Frank Wilson is a producer from back in the day. He's apparently a god at jazz. So this man was always producing for other people and stuff like that. And one day he decided like, yo, I want to be an artist myself. So he made a record where he was the main artist on it. He performed all the songs on it himself. And basically his manager and record executive said, fuck that. They didn't want to really see him succeed anymore, so they quite literally took his records and burnt them. The man was just trying to explore his artistry and they said no. From the articles that I read, they basically gaslit him and told him that it was a really bad project, even though it was actually really good and they knew it was good. They just didn't want to see him succeed. And yeah, they basically burnt all his albums. An estimated 2 survived, and only 1 has ever been sold before, and that's the one that sold at auction for $32,000. So that's number 10 on our list. Quite a sick start. A little phoenix in the ashes, if you ask me. Yeah, I think that's a really cool number 10. So without further ado, let's keep going. Okay, next we've got Tommy Richmond. Psych. We got Tommy Johnson. And Alcohol and Jack... What?
Hold up. Wait a minute.
Alcohol and Jack Blues. I don't really get the title. Who's Jack?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
This album doesn't have any cover art either. The only artist that's credited is Tommy. So how much do you guys think this one went for? Seems pretty basic. $37,000 in 2013. Not much more than the previous one, but still crazy. But why? Well, it's one of the earliest blues albums that has no master tapes, and it was also destroyed by record executives. These record executives have a vendetta. Like, the more I was doing research, I was like really blown away by how much record executives have it out for these artists. I was like, if vinyls are planets, then record executives are like the Death Star, just trying to destroy everything, which I don't understand. It should be making them more money, like vinyl and stuff like that, like the Frank Wilson one. I didn't really understand that when I was doing research, because I was like, if he's going to become a better artist and his fans see, oh, he's becoming like a performing artist now, not just a producer, isn't it going to just increase sales and tours and merch and all of that stuff? It seems like they're shooting themselves in the foot by destroying these vinyls, if you ask me. But yeah, basically this tape has no masters, so the vinyls that are there are the only vinyls. You can't put it on anything else. I think that means you can't put it on digital either, so it's super rare. One last interesting little fact about this album: the guy that actually bought this album, he already had the vinyl, but he wanted this one because it was a better quality, and yeah, he paid the 30-40k for it, and it's a modest flex. It's a modest flex, if you ask me. Now the next one's really sick because the guy that bought it is the same guy that created Minecraft. In 2014, Marcus Notch Pearson bought what is considered one of the most influential electronic albums of all time. And the cherry on top? This album was never officially released. So any guesses what this album was and how much the guy paid for it? I think the last one was what, 39,000, 37,000? In 8th place, introducing Aphex Twin's Caustic Window. This bad boy sold for $50,000. What made this vinyl so expensive wasn't just the guy that bought it. The guy made Minecraft. It wasn't just the fact that it was a genre-defying album that changed the whole landscape of electronic music. But the real cherry on top that I was talking about before is the way that Aphex Twins rolled out this vinyl. See, Aphex Twins finished this project all the way in the 90s, but only had the first pressing of the vinyl in 2014. Meaning they waited all those years building up anticipation, building up mystery behind what the vinyl was going to be like. And this holding out of the project just added a layer of mystery that music lovers just couldn't resist. I think it's a really brave move. You do already have to have like a fan base to hold out on something like that, but damn, if it's a classic album that everybody loves and you hold out a bit and then you drop it and then it's worth $50,000. Alright, so that was number 8 and we had $50,000 already, so it's a lot. It's not as much as obviously like a Pokemon card or something, but wait, we climb. Next on the list, we all knew these guys were going to come up sooner or later. I wrote over here that they're basically like when you're having a conversation about pizza and you know pineapple is going to come up in the conversation. Whenever you're talking to someone about pizza, sooner or later, the pineapple conversation comes up. Do you like pineapple on your pizza or not? These guys are pineapple on pizza because they always come up in the conversation of music. Whether you hate them, whether you love them, it's the Beatles. In 1962, the Beatles recorded some of their earliest demos at EMI, and it's believed that this is their first record ever. The album included tracks like Hello Little Girl and Till There Was You, and that song should give away the name of this vinyl, because in 2016, Till There Was You sold for $77,500 at auction, making it the 7th most expensive vinyl of all time. This vinyl is dubbed as the first time you can really hear the Beatles' iconic sound, and the craziest part is this first demo ever from the Beatles, it was founded in a random person's attic in Liverpool. This is apparently when you can hear that iconic Beatles sound for the first time, and you can really start to hear them coming together as a band.
Let's move on.
The Beatles are like George Bush. Why? Because fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, and you guessed it, at number 6 is the Beatles again. But this time it's not for their iconic music, it's for their iconic cover art. So originally released in 1966, the Beatles' Yesterday and Today caused controversy because of its cover. It was basically all 4 of them sitting there in white robes with like raw meat and blood and baby dolls just with like decapitated all around them, and basically they went full Gaga before like Gaga was a thing, you know. And yeah, it was in protest against the American record labels because apparently they were butchering their albums. I don't even know exactly what that means by butchering. Maybe they were just like messing up the mixing or something. But yeah, it was against protest against that, and it was dubbed the Butcher album, and it was only on shelves for a few days before it was retracted, and they got a new cover and it went out. But those that got their hands on it before it was retracted, Christmas came early again. And the thing is, this album had to go back out because it has bangers on like Yesterday. So because it had big songs like that on it, it had to go back out. What's the great thing about number 6 in my eyes is that I think it's the only one, if I'm correct, out of all of these when we go through. Correct me at the end if I'm wrong. But I think it's the only one out of all of these where the record labels get kicked back. I mean, I guess technically
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not.
yeah, guys, I'm actually crazy. I'm actually so wrong because it's actually like that with all of them. I was gonna say that the record labels taking it off the shelves and then it going back out again unintentionally made the 6th most expensive vinyl of all time, which wasn't their intention. Their intention was to be like in control, and by trying to be in control, they're not in control of its price, and it's still out there. But I guess that's the case with all of them so far. Even the the record executives that like burned Frank Wilson's 7-inch vinyls, they had no idea that those 2 vinyls were going to survive and become worth, what was it, $32,000. I bet Frank Wilson didn't think that either. Like, so yeah, I retract what I said earlier. It's actually all of them. But yeah, anyways, back to number 6. So the Butcher album had a crazy cover art that just drove the record executives super mad. They were like, nah, screw this. And yeah, I don't know what noise that was, but basically it sold for, what do you guys think? Remember, the last one was $50,000, and I said this might not be Pokemon, but it should get crazy here too. So what do you guys think? 60, 90, $125,000 for this Beatles album, and that sold in February of 2013. So I'm pretty sure it's worth even more now. But anyways, let's move on. Number 6. We're going to number 5 now. Damn, guys, if you're watching this and you're here right now, I'm sorry that it's not so super tidy and stuff like that. I've actually just moved. This is just a little segment. I've just moved. I'm still gonna stick up some stuff over here. I'm still figuring out a mic switch. I have a mic and an interface. I'm just buying a cable. Like, everything is slowly coming together. Let me know if you like me sitting, or I was thinking of just putting up a green screen here and then just recording myself like that. But I also do like the chilled vibes, and I think with some posters and stuff it could be cool, but you'll let me know. And yeah, if you're liking this so far, please sub. I post super regularly, like shit, 2-3 times a week if I can. I'm basically not posting on normal social media stuff anymore. I'm just like focusing on YouTube and then making short content out of my YouTube. So please like, and let's get back to the video. Now, I think we can all agree that love can lead to a lot of magical things. And that's exactly what happened when John Lennon and his wife Yoko Ono came together to create their beloved album, Double Fantasy. You see, these were both 2 talented creatives that were not only creatives, but also in love. And they created magic with that. But this isn't a story about love, but rather the evil that love can bring out of us sometimes. You see, what makes this vinyl so noteworthy is the fact that this vinyl was signed by John Lennon only hours before he was assassinated by the same man that he signed the vinyl for, Mark David Chapman. John Lennon was shot at point blank, and later Mark was
arrested.
This is a tragic story, and paired with the iconic album cover art of John and his wife Yoko being intimate and in love, it just smears a really contrasting image. I thought that this one would be high on the list, if I'm being honest. This one's number 5, and for me personally it could be at number 2 even. I gotta tell you why this album is also so loved. It's won multiple Grammys, including Album of the Year, and the main reason, like I mentioned before, because of the intimate photo of them kissing and the contrast of the murder of John Lennon by one of his fans that he signed that same album for. And yeah, basically it's just a really sad story that makes this vinyl so expensive. But I know you guys are here for the money.
Show me the money!
You guys want to know exactly how much these guys paid for this thing. So, any guesses to how much this super sad vinyl sold for? So the last one was what, 125,000? The one before that was 50,000. What are we thinking? 150,000. I know. I'm disappointed too. I really thought this one was going to be worth much more. And yeah, personally, I put it at like number 2. But at the end, let me know in the comments what you guys think. If this list is whack and people be paying way too much for the wrong vinyls, let me know. Okay. Next up. Can't get away from these guys. The Beatles. More specifically, Sgt. Pepper and the Beatles. I know that's not the vinyl's real name, but you know exactly which one I'm talking about. This one released in 1967, but in 2013 it sold for... Welcome back to another game of Value That Vinyl! Today we have Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and today we want to hear from you how much you think this vinyl's worth. Guesses from the crowd? Guesses from the crowd? You win absolutely nothing if you get it right, but the correct number is $290,000. I know. I have no idea how Sgt. Pepper is almost double what Murder Vinyl is. You know what I'm saying? But this bad boy sold for $290,000 in 2013 at auction, making it the 4th most expensive vinyl of all time. But why? Well, apparently this vinyl is the first one ever to have a concept, a first album to have a concept from start to finish, which I think is a bit of BS. It sounds like they're basically calling all the artists and musicians before stupid, like they didn't have like a plan when they were making their projects. I'm gonna put some up here while I'm speaking to prove my point of albums that definitely had concepts from start to finish that came out before this one, but apparently that's why it went for so much. It's just like an iconic one. But there is one other key reason that this album is the 4th most expensive, and it's the fact that it's the only Beatles album that seems to be signed by all 4 of the Beatles, which I think must be quite tough, getting 4 rock stars, if you want to call the Beatles rock stars, into one room signing an album all at the same time. It's an exceptionally rare thing. It's like getting the whole of... I almost said something there that gives away something, but I'm gonna keep that something to myself. It'd be like if you got AC/DC to sign an album. Like it's hard to get everyone together to sign something at the same time in the same room. Another thing in the articles that I read said basically that this album cover art actually also became quite iconic for the next 10 years. It was a rebellious kind of thing against the Vietnam War, and yeah, it was a collage thing. It looked cool, people liked it, and it just added to its value. $290,000 for this vinyl. Moving on. Now the next one I hold a little dear to my heart because of my Opa. I don't know about you guys, but when your grandparents or your parents really like something and you're a kid, you really want to like it too. And this next guy, he's my guy. My friends will tell you. At number 3, we have Elvis the King, Elvis the Pelvis, as my Opa would call him. I never understood that nickname. It just really sounded like he was just like he had a really big pelvis bone. He was just walking on this like really big pelvis bone. Now in 1953, Elvis Presley recorded his first demo ever, and in 2015 it was found in a random storage unit. Another random person finding gold in their random storage unit. The first one was in the attic, this one's now in the storage unit, if you keep it up. And it was sold at auction for $300,000. Only $10,000 more than number 4, so cutting it close. But my boy Elvis is still at number 3. I'll give it to him. He's still at number 3. Now this vinyl is the one that had the song My Happiness on, which apparently Elvis recorded for his mother. Now this one I didn't even have to look up, if I'm being honest, because I know this story. Yo, my eye has been fucking out today. I know this story from my Opa actually, but I did research it. Don't worry, I did research it just to make sure. And what my Opa said is basically the real story. So basically Elvis recorded this song for his mom, My Happiness, and one day his mom was just apparently playing it on the radio on her vinyl, and a record executive, Jack White, not the White Stripes rock and roll star, record executive, heard it, loved the kid's voice, brought him in, and the rest is history. So this is the first time that everyone got to hear that super deep voice. And yeah, I mean, he is the king. He did bring rock. Granted, he did get it from like a lot of black churches and stuff. I don't know if you know anything about Elvis, but he used to hang out in a lot of black churches when he was younger. But yeah, I love Elvis. Super cool. So number 3, 300,000. It's a good 3-3. I didn't even see that. So yeah, 3-3. Let's go. The exact story says that he recorded it, record executive heard it, and the rest is history kind of thing. And my Opa's one is that his mom was playing it, the record executive heard it, and then the rest is history. So each to their own. It could have been that it was maybe picked up by a radio and then a record executive, but I like my Opa story more, so I'm gonna stick with that one. And it's basically the same thing. Basically, some guy just heard it somewhere and he was like, yo, that sounds sick, and then yeah, took over. And then he probably saw the guy and was like, yo, he's got the rocker look, he had that slick back from when he was young. So yeah, moving on. Number 2. Alright, now before we get to the next, I just want to say thank you again for anybody that's watching. Yeah, it's been magical so far. The next 2 are really cool. Alright, now for the top 2. I'm super excited to get into these with you guys. So, we had, 290k. We had 300k at number 3. 3 for 3. What do you guys think number 2 is? You know what time it is. We're playing Value That Vinyl. Next we have a vinyl from the Beatles again. Barcode 0000001, making it the first one ever. Now, not all vinyls have their barcode, so that's why this is significant. If you were wondering, so they know for sure that this is the first one. And why it's even more special is it was signed by Ringo Starr from the Beatles, and he kept it in his vault for, like, if I'm not mistaken, 35 years. It was from 1968 to 2015 that he kept it in a vault, which is a hella long time to keep it. So what do we think? The last one was 300k. I told you, this shit is like Pokemon cards eventually. What do we think? If you said $700,000, you're wrong. $790,000. Got you. Psych. That is stupid expensive for a vinyl. Now, I do have to say shout out Ringo. He gave it all to charity, so that's pretty cool. But $790,000 because it's signed by Ringo Starr and was just kept in a vault and it was the first one. What about the guy that got shot by his fan? Dude, I don't know. Maybe I'm making a bigger deal than I should be, but for me personally, I feel like, I feel like that John Lennon one needs to be higher. This one isn't as cool. This one isn't as cool personally. But yeah, sold for $790,000 in 2015 at auction. Gave it to charity, and yeah, it's just valuable because of its barcode, its age, and it was signed by the boy himself, Ringo. Maybe the most favorite Beatle. And now, the most jaw-dropping vinyl of them all. The smoothest, most vacillating. In 2014, Wu-Tang Clan finished their album Once Upon a Time in Shiloh, but kept it under wraps until 2015 when they sold it at a private auction for $2 million. Only one vinyl exists. You can't stream it anywhere. I mean, there are really shitty recordings on YouTube that fans and super fans have stitched together from recordings and phone recordings and stuff. But this project doesn't exist. I thought they were maybe just kidding, and like I went on Spotify, I looked, I looked, guys, like on YouTube everywhere. It doesn't exist. You could maybe get it on the black market, maybe, I don't know. You'll see now why that joke's relevant. But yeah, it doesn't exist. It's only on this one vinyl. And this vinyl comes in a uniquely crafted silver and nickel box designed by artist Yaya. And it just looks super sick. Paired with the name Once Upon a Time in Shiloh and this box, this vinyl starts to feel like something out of like Lord of the Rings. It's the stuff of myths and legends. That's what this vinyl feels like. You know what I mean? Like this book or this ring, and now it's this special vinyl. Like you could make a game about this vinyl, you know what I mean? And I feel like more artists should put more thought into their presentation of some of their like merch pieces and stuff, and make it something that like when people see it, they're just blown away, and it starts to, and it tickles at your nostalgia, and it does a lot more, you know? But the fact that there's only one vinyl and only one copy of this thing anywhere isn't the only reason why this thing is worth so much cash and money. So this vinyl was bought for $2 million by a pharmaceutical guy. His name is Martin Shkreli. Martin Shkreli. This guy's a bad guy. He's been in trouble for fraud and scamming and selling pharmaceuticals when he shouldn't be and stuff like that. So he bought this vinyl for $2 million, right? And then not even a year later started trying to sell copies of it on eBay. No one bought one in time. Obviously people wanted to buy, but I'm not 100% sure how you make copies of vinyls, because I thought you need the tapes and then like it gets put in like that somehow. I'm not 100% sure. I probably should have done some research on that. I'll put it up over here so that you guys can see while I'm talking that I did do the research on it. But yeah, I wasn't sure how he was going to do that. But anyways, he was trying to sell them for $1 million a pop on eBay. And yeah, the government came after him, arrested him for security fraud and breach of contract. Because in the contract, when you bought the Wu-Tang Once Upon a Time in Shiloh, you had to sign a contract. And this contract stated that once purchased, there was a 100-year resale ban. Meaning, no selling of the project to anybody. Once you bought it, you basically had it for life. You'd only sell it again. Maybe you could maybe there was something in there. It didn't say in the article, but maybe there was something in there that said like if you're on your deathbed, or you could pass it on to someone or something, you know what I mean? Yeah, basically you couldn't do anything with it once you bought it besides be the only person that could listen to it. And I mean, maybe you could have listening parties and charge people so that they can come and listen. Like maybe you should have done something like that. But yeah, so that was the one rule. The second big rule that was in every other article was that once purchased, Wu-Tang, any member of Wu-Tang or the great Bill Murray were allowed to try and steal the vinyl back from whoever made the purchase. Whether it was at night, whether it was at guns, you know, what's it called? Gunpoint. At gunpoint. Like, you could jack a motherfucker and steal that thing. And there were no consequences by law because it's in the contract. So that's why that vinyl was so expensive. It basically was not allowed to be sold. It had a super cool silver and nickel cover. There's only one copy of it. And even though there's only one copy, unlike other artists that might do a limited vinyl drop or something, it's still not on any digital platforms either. Nowhere, not even YouTube. So no one has heard it clean yet. But hopefully that's going to change soon. You see, because Martin, he got arrested, right? After he tried to sell the vinyl and try and break the law. Dumb motherfucker. So the government has it now. But a company called Pfizer Dad has paid $4.75 million over the course of a few years to acquire the rights for the vinyl. And they say they want to release it to the public. They're doing a crowdfunding initiative, I think, to try and get the money back. Because even though it is $4.7 million, how many Wu-Tang fans do you need to get that money? You know what I'm saying? How many of them have spent money on shirts and other CDs and stuff? I'm sure if everyone puts in some cash. I don't know, it is a lot of money. But, you know, shit, hopefully the people get it eventually, maybe in like 50 years or something. Because, yeah, that's their plan. Their plan is to crowdfund it and to hopefully give it back to the people, which I think is a good initiative because it is their most sought after album. So now the big question: will vinyls get more expensive? Research shows that vinyls peaked in 2016, but they're currently on the rise again and heading for another peak. And as time goes on, I believe they'll continue to rise because people more and more want physical things that they can hold on to. I mean, people are always complaining about how they have to subscribe to 50 million things and they just don't own anything. You don't own your games, you don't own your movies, you don't own your music. So having something that you can put on and play whenever you want, I think that's something that people will always want and are starting to want more. There was a time when people wanted the ease of a subscription, but people have become smarter and have learned that subscribing also means not owning. Whereas like people weren't really thinking about that when they were first subscribing. Like with Adobe, everyone's hating on Adobe and would much rather just get like DaVinci and work with their different things that they can own. I mean, especially in the independent music space, I've seen a lot of independent artists exploring cassette tapes and CDs because they're a lot cheaper, but they mean a lot more to their fans than a cool video or something. Yeah, it's maybe not always as accessible. Not everyone has a CD player or a vinyl, but it means more. It's actually something there. It's physical, you know. It might have taken more effort to obtain it and deliver it, and it's got a cover art, and it's something that you can actually see with your eyes in real life. It's not a picture on your phone. And I think that's why vinyls, cassette tapes, and everything else have seen massive spikes in growth. I think it's like cassette tapes went up by 33% last year, or 133%. Like, I'm not saying that vinyls are gonna be the by all means thing. I just think that they're gonna be a dominant tool for artists, musicians to use to really connect with their fans. I think vinyls are gonna be around for a long time. Those were the top 10 most expensive vinyls. But like I said, that's just me, a guy sitting in a random room spitting out my thoughts and opinions. There's a whole bunch of questions that need to be answered. Like, do we think that like in the future an artist like Eminem will be able to sell a vinyl for more than the Wu-Tang one? Do we think Beyonce will? Are vinyls ever going to be that kind of valuable again, or are they going to be a different kind of valuable? Like I said, just a side tool type thing. But these are all questions that I want to know what you guys think. If you had any thoughts while you were listening to it, let me know if you thought the order was good. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you thought that was sick. I really enjoyed researching it. I've been telling everyone, my parents, telling everyone all these interesting facts about these vinyls, and yeah, I try to keep it concise and short for you guys. Get to it, chuck a little joke in between here and there, but mostly just telling you guys about some really cool stuff. And if you learned something, that was the idea. My name is Jean-Claude Downing. I'm really grateful that you made it to the end. As always, stay mad and stay magical.